Billionaire crook Bernie Madoff, who made off with billions of dollars thanks to an elaborate Ponzi scheme of his.
Mr. Madoff, what would you say to all those people that lost money, Mr. Madoff? What would you say to them?
Madoff swindled investors by promising huge returns that didn't actually exist. Once he was caught, thousands of people lost their life savings.
Of course it was too good to be true.
Bernie Madoff, responsible for stealing $13 billion from hardworking men and women. These are people who trusted him with their life savings. Well, Madoff's supposed to spend the rest of his life behind bars, but now he says he has terminal kidney failure and wants to be let out of jail on the grounds of a compassionate release. Again, let that sink in. Bernie Madoff using the word compassion. In case you forgot, let's listen to some of his victims again.
I think he should rot in hell. Is what you want to say. He's evil.
I was retired. I'd moved to Florida. I was starting over, and now I've had to move back to New York, move in with a parent.
I just want to get through my life for as long as I have. And they've robbed me of that.
2 people have committed suicide because of this man. You know, at some point I started thinking, you know, he is a terrorist.
I'm calm on the exterior, but I'm dying inside. I cry at night, but not now.
People are just waiting. There are people who have to sell their homes to find the next meal.
I came down, you know, damned if I know. I came down because I need to feel connected to what I'm feeling, the results of what's happened. But it's like living in a bubble of nothingness.
So the tears there. One woman says she's dying inside. Suicides. Again, we got our hands on Bernie Madoff's court filing for, again, this compassionate release. Here's what it says. Madoff does not dispute the severity of his crimes, nor does he seek to minimize the suffering of his victims. Madoff has expressed remorse for his crimes now after over 10 years of incarceration with less than 18 months to live. Madoff humbly asked the court for a modicum of compassion. Let's bring in criminal defense attorney, he's a former prosecutor and host of Law and Crime Network, Bob Bianchi. Bob, the question is, do you think after what he did to so many, he deserves compassion right now?
You know, Mike, I understand as a prosecutor, financial crimes are devastating and oftentimes one of the most emotional, which is counterintuitive given murder and rape. But the thing is here is that there's the compassionate care aspect of a new law. And when President Trump signed in the First Step Act, it was even empowered more. So it's about law, not so much about feelings of people. And that law basically says that if you have a significant illness where you are going to be terminally ill and die, and losing a body organ or failure of a body organ, which is what occurs here with Bernie Madoff, is one of those factors, and he is in palliative care, that it can be reviewed by a court if he should be released. Now, the Bureau of Prisons is looking not to have him released, and they're arguing that it would deprecate or lessen the seriousness of his offense. But I note that there was a case that recently came out in this area. That was the Ebers case, Bernard Ebers, 25 years in prison for $1 billion or more fraud, kind of very similar to this. And that judge ruled that under the compassionate care provisions, because he was terminally ill, less than 18 months to live, just like we have here with Madoff, that he essentially served a life sentence. He will be under supervised release by the Bureau of Prisons when he gets out, and that it was appropriate to release him. So while that may frustrate many of the victims, the bottom line, this is not about feelings, although I understand them. It's about the parameters of the law.
No, that's interesting. So the legal arguments, because the layman's legal argument, and correct me if I'm wrong, is a deterrent to crime. That this is what happens when you do what he did. Even though he's terminally ill and has 18 months to live, part of a punishment would be you remain behind bars for those last 18 months. Is that an argument that holds weight?
It certainly does, Mike. The Bureau of Prisons actually asserted that argument, that the seriousness of the offense by releasing him would not be a deterrent to others. But in the Ebers court, which is like one of the only decisions we have right now to go to, they were basically saying that it is a deterrent. They spent many years in jail. It is essentially a life sentence. They will still be monitored, just in a different environment. But that is the argument the Bureau of Prisons made with Madoff, that it is too serious to release him. And a court is going to have to balance whether or not that's true against the act, which is trying to really let people out who are under these circumstances.
Real quick, Bob, at the end of the day, what do you think happens here?
I mean, I think it's a really close call. I think that the outrage of the victims is going to weigh heavily on the judge. But if the judge were just doing it strictly from the legal principles, based upon previous cases, he makes Madoff has a good case to make an argument.
Interesting. All right. We'll see how it plays out. Good to see you, Bob. Thanks so much.
Good to see you, Mike.